Hey guys, Nikki here with More Than Pretty Paper. Today I've got a really old video that I recorded a long time ago and just never posted. It's a kit that I made myself. This is an old kit from longtime called Dewey Decimal from 2012. I've also got a bunch, I'm showing you what I put in here, some stamps from Chamel, some random enamel things, a bunch of stickers that just kind of matched along with it. Do a quick flip through the papers that I'm going to use and um, basically, this is some photos of when my son broke his arm on his birthday. So that was super, super fun. I'm going to mat this paper with this kind of reddish colored diagonal stripe here using an X-Acto. Sometimes I use my trimmer, sometimes I use my X-Acto. Just really depends on honestly what's closest. Um, so I gutted that backing and then I'm going to start making some layers. This is going to be a pretty simple layout. There's not going to be a whole lot of embellishment, mainly just because I didn't really have a lot of embellishments. This is mostly just stuff I pulled from my stash. But I'm going to start with a photo block where I mat these papers on that same red that I used for the mat of the whole layout. And then I'm just going to throw in some layers here, kind of an L-shaped design. These papers are pretty, what I would call a graphic style. So I didn't want to get too grungy or too layery or too like whimsical looking. I wanted it to stay pretty graphic, kind of go along with the style of the paper and the fact that this is not what you would call a happy layout. This is a bad day for him, which unfortunately meant a bad day for pretty much everybody else because he was grouchy. And rightfully so. He was in pain. It was a bad day, but it was self inflicted through not the smartest actions. But anyway, I mean, he's a kid. He was a kid. I say kid. He was in 22, 3. I'm not, honestly, I don't remember exactly how old he was when I made this or when this happened, just because it's been a minute. So I'm grabbing little pieces here, throwing in some layers, and just kind of starting to build some bases for some clusters to give me a place to put some embellishments. I did manage to use that sticker or stamp set. I mean, that's an old stamp set from Chamel that she put out, I think, while she was still with Two Peas in a Bucket. If that doesn't date me, I don't know what does. Some old stickers from Studio Calico. These little stickers that I've got right now are some Seven Gypsies stickers, and they had a couple varieties of those, and I probably had 47 sheets of those. No kidding. That was one of my favorite embellishments. And I still have a few of them, which is crazy. And I still use them. In fact, a friend of mine found some from another company that were very, very similar and gifted me with them not too long ago, and I was irrationally excited about it. So now I'm going to use a few of these are the letter stickers that came with this kit. It was basically just a paper kit. There was paper, a few stickers, and that was it. There wasn't really any like actual embellishment type things with it. And so now I'm using my little letter ruler to get those letters straight because it wasn't happening on my own, obviously. And kind of mess around with where I want to put that. That's why I do like that ruler because it makes it pretty easy to kind of rearrange and figure out where you want to put stuff and where you want it and still be able to see, where you're going with it. And then it kind of helps keep them straight more or less. I didn't do the best job of keeping those straight. That Y is kind of out of whack, but it is what it is at this point. Um, Using tweezers to get these tiny little tile stickers in place. My tweezers are probably one of my favorite tools. I use those all the time. And then I'm going to come back in with the stamps again and try to put in just a few little other areas where I stamp it. This is looks like a little border stamp. And just for some embellishments, it doesn't stand out really well, but it does add a little bit of layer. And then I have these enamel pieces, of course, some enamel dots. Gonna throw some of those on there. I don't know that I've done a layout in the last 10 years that didn't have enamel dots on them. I go through a ton of those. They're one of my favorite ways to kind of finish things off with little sprinkly bits. And do a little bit of tucking and tacking down here, finishing that. And then I'm going to throw some splatter on here. And that's gonna wrap this up. It's a pretty quick layout. Of course, this is sped up, obviously, but even so, it was only about a 30-minute layout at best. And that included me, kind of messing around with trying to figure out what I was going to put where and what I was actually going to use. But I like fast layouts like that. So it happens fairly frequently. And then wiping off some of that dot stuff so that it doesn't make a mess. And there we go. All done. I finished up the journaling off camera and we called it a day. So thanks for watching. I hope you'll come back and I'll see you next time.